What's up, Highway 83 fans? We got Tommy, and of course myself, Tony. We're at the Highway 83 shop tonight. Oh, Tommy's getting a little rambunctious. We got a video about the Suzuki. If you guys have been following our video, come on in. If you've been following the progress on this, today we are getting closer to installing the engine, and we're gonna go over certain things that you should do while the engine is out of the vehicle and accessible, as opposed to once it's back in, you're kind of screwed, and these things can be very difficult to get at. So here's our replacement engine. If you've seen our other video, this is the Suzuki, and the Suzuki is well, it's not the most prestigious vehicle we've got, but we need to get it to be a runner again. So I'm not doing any full overhauls. I'm not doing anything super expensive. In fact, the plan was the cheapest thing possible. But of course, as things went on, I said, hey, I got to replace this. Why not? You know, so that's where we're at. And we're going to go over some of the most important things to replace when your engine is out of the vehicle. So some things that we've already done. We've put on some brand new silicone hoses. These are hoses we offer from Highway 83 in our store. Now, while I was doing that, here's something. This is the water tube that comes out the back of the water pipe. The water pump. Now these bad boys get rusty, as you can see, rusty as sin. So I wasn't gonna touch this, I wasn't gonna touch it. But then I pulled the hose off, and as you can see right there, there's a pinhole in this thing. So that would have been a bad deal. I would have put it back in, coolant would have been pissing out, and then I would have been all up and in there trying to replace it, and that's not good. So inspect this while your engine is out. Of course, we had one in the old Highway 83 stash. So I drug one out, painted it, put this in. We did our motor mounts. Now, 9 times out of 10 on a Suzuki 1.3 or 1.6, at least one of these is gonna be broke. This is what was on there, this is broken. So we got new motor mounts, one on each side, just the rubber part. This is all you're replacing. The brackets and stuff you reuse. So motor mounts, we are gonna have those in the Highway 83 store pretty soon. Those got replaced, nice and easy, of course. You see a little Toyota carburetor on there. That can be done once the engine's in the vehicle, but I dressed it up while it was out. So we did our hoses. Now back here, this is the most important thing that everyone should always change out when your engine's out. This is called the rear main seal right here. This is the crankshaft. Rear main seal goes on there. So if you take off all your bolts, there's 2 coming up from the oil pan here too. You will see this is the rear main seal. Now if this goes bad, you will be spraying oil into your transmission bell housing. So this is a Fel-Pro kit we've got here. You can pick these up at your local auto parts store. That will be the new seal that you're gonna press into here. This just pushes out and push the new one in. You got your gasket, and you're gonna put RTV sealant on the oil. I put a little RTV on everything, to be honest with you, but on top of the oil pan, and seal that back up. This is a thing you definitely wanna do, because after that, if it leaks, you gotta pull the transmission out. You don't want to be doing that, man. You don't. Right now is the time. It's cheap, and I always replace that. Now, while you're back there, of course, you've got your clutch. Now, any other project, I'd probably be putting a brand new clutch in. The Suzuki. We're not going to be driving this thing long distances, just tootling around the property a little bit. Maybe putting a snow plow on it, maybe tootling around with the plow in the winter. But this clutch still has life in it. I'm just going to reuse this clutch, but this is the pressure plate, the clutch, so this would be the time to replace that. This is your flywheel. Now, if you were doing a nice project, you would have your flywheel resurfaced and brand new clutch, brand new pressure plate. But I'm not doing that for this Suzuki. But what I am gonna do is, this is your pilot bearing here. I've got a new Timken pilot bearing, so you're gonna tap this out, and you're gonna tap in your new bearing. Now here is a very important thing now, especially if you are doing a nice restoration or a nice daily driver that you're gonna be putting on a ton of miles. This is the input shaft from the transmission. I will show it in the vehicle in a little bit. But as you can see right here, this one's actually in rather nice shape. Right where these lines are, this is where your bearing rides on. And what happens is Suzuki engines or transmissions love to chew this part up. So once you put your new bearing on here, it's going to be loose and chattering and wobbling and a terrible fit, and it's going to wear out this bearing. It's going to be bad. It's going to make noise. So this is a problem because to replace this shaft, you have to pull the transmission, separate the two halves, and put this in there. Not a difficult project, but time consuming. I got to get a napkin here. Get some oil on the old hands here at 83. So you want to inspect this input shaft when you're doing it because, again, you may need to replace that, and that's the time you want to be doing it. So you got your bearings, inspect that, your clutch, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is the throwout bearing. We got a Koyo Japan-made one here. This I never cheap out on these parts because this will make noise and this will drive you crazy. So come on in here. Bring on in the camera, Jim. So now here, this is your throwout bearing. So in here, this is where you're going to be replacing. I got her in there and lubed up. So this you want to replace too. This comes with your clutch kit. The pilot bearing, the throwout bearing, the clutch disc, and the pressure plate are all going to come with your clutch kit. Now here, this spring, again, I thought this was going to be a quick, easy project, but no, this spring here was broke. This little ear here snapped off. So this thing was just loose, all willy-nilly loose. So I had to punch out this shaft, which we're going to make a video on how to do it more detailed later, but I had to punch out this shaft to get enough space to put that new spring in. So that spring is something you want to inspect as well. Here I will show you the damaged spring. Clutch return spring. We're going to have these available in the Highway 83 store. So just this little guy here caused some havoc. This part right here snapped off. I've seen this a lot, and that's the time to replace it because otherwise you've got no return on that pedal. So this little guy can cause a lot of mischief, you know. It sucks because this was supposed to be a quick, easy project, but you guys know how that goes. It turned into kind of a shit fest real quick. But everything on a Samurai is pretty easy to fix. So, okay. So now if you wanted to do your distributor O-ring, great time to do it because it's right here, right? So this can also be done in the vehicle. So not the end of the world that it has to be done now. And let's get to the front of the engine. Now, again, I'm not going to do this because I don't really care, and it doesn't look to be leaking too bad. But if you were going to be doing a nice rebuild, you would pull your timing cover off and replace your timing belt. You would replace your cam seal, your crank seal, and your water pump. Those would all be things to do right now while the engine is out of the vehicle, and ideal time to clean that all up. Same thing with the oil pan. This oil pan was a little rusty, but I think she's still got a little life left in her. So oil pan, remember this is just RTV on the oil pan gasket. There is no gasket. Do not use a gasket, only the RTV sealant. So that would be another thing. Your exhaust, you can pretty much access your exhaust and your valve cover and everything else in the vehicle pretty easily. But anything else you want to replace, now is the time. But I think we covered most of the stuff that is the hard stuff to get to, and that's what you want to do while the engine is out because it's easy and it's going to save you a lot of time and money as far as sticking the thing back in there and being like, oh crap, I got an oil leak, crap, I got a coolant leak. Especially with these hoses. I cannot stress these hoses enough. They're 40 freaking years old. I've had a lot of these vehicles where they look good, and there's a pinhole in them, and they're pissing out coolant, and now you're getting your hands all up in there on a cold winter day trying to wrench one of these guys out of here. So it's pretty cheap just to buy the whole kit, fix them all right now. Then you're done. Now you don't got to worry about it no more. So we also putting on a new belt, alternator belt, of course. That can be done while in the vehicle as well pretty easily. But the main things are in the back of the engine. rear main seal, the clutch parts, the bearings that we showed you, motor mounts, all that stuff is what you want to be working on. So anything that's, especially if you're doing a nice restoration or a nice Samurai Sidekick tracker that you're going to be driving and putting a lot of miles on, spend the extra week or two, extra couple $100 on all the seals, all the hoses, all the mounts. Do it once, you know, you don't want to be doing it twice. So that's what we wanted to go over, and I got to get back to stabbing this engine back in the car and getting back to working on it. So we're going to do more detailed videos on some of the clutch return springs and some of the other stuff, but today we got to get this Zebra Suzuki wrapped up. This thing's already dragging out. So make sure you subscribe to the Highway 83 YouTube channel, and a couple of the videos down here will pop up. Click on them, grab a beer, watch them, tell your friends about us. Order parts from the Highway 83 Suzuki online store, and I'll do a yeah to that, guys. All right, we'll see you on the next video.